Brazilian Indigenous and traditional groups behind a major class action against Australian miner BHP are in Australia ahead of the start of proceedings. Now, in a test case in the United Kingdom, the group are suing BHP for $70 billion for the destruction of their culture, identity and religious icon in the 2015 Mariana Dam catastrophe. Indigenous correspondent Carly Williams is covering the case and joins us now in the studio. Carly, welcome. Now, this sounds like a complicated case. It's been going for a while. Where did it start? Where are we up to now?
This case has a long tail. I think to best understand it, we need to go back to November 2015. This is when the Mariana Dam collapsed in the southeast corner of Brazil. This was a tailings dam run by BHP and its local partner Vale. It housed a tailings, which is the waste from iron ore mining. When you look back at the footage, you can see that communities were really just powerless to escape this wall of thick red sludge and waste as it tore through villages. This is 20,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools worth of waste, and it travelled 600 kilometres through waterways to the Atlantic Ocean, carrying with it the bloated bodies of horses, livestock, wildlife, cars, structures from buildings, and unfortunately bodies. 19 people died during this disaster. Thousands were left homeless, and livelihoods and the fishing industry was taken out overnight. People, especially the Indigenous groups along these waterways, couldn't fish anymore because the water was contaminated with heavy metals. What Indigenous community leaders have told me is that they've had to turn to processed foods, and they're not used to that. So they're seeing a surge of diseases formerly pretty much unheard of in these areas, like diabetes and hypertension. Some communities have received some fair compensation from BHP, others have not. Indigenous Brazilians, along with the Quilombolas people, they are descendants of enslaved African people trafficked to Brazil. They say they are still suffering from the effects of this dam disaster. This is nearly 10 years on, and they haven't received fair compensation, and that's why they're taking this to the High Court in London at the end of this month. There
are quite a few interesting and unprecedented elements to this case. Can you explain those to us?
There are quite a few. First up, we've got the scale of it. There are 650,000 individuals participating in this case, and that includes 20,000 First Nations and traditional peoples from Brazil. The disaster happened in Brazil, but it's being litigated in a high court in London. So this is Brazilian law applied in an English court. That's quite unique. Claimants are asking for $36 billion. That's 70 billion Australian dollars. But for me, being an Indigenous person and acknowledging that First Nations people across the globe have a special connection to land, sea and waterways, what I find interesting is that this case will argue that this disaster destroyed a culture or cultures. When that toxic water flooded the River Doce, Indigenous people couldn't use the river anymore. But it's difficult to put into words for me, in English as well. I don't speak Portuguese, but when the Krenak people talk to me about this river, it is their religious icon, their father, it is their God. And that's what one of the Krenak chiefs, Makon Krenak, has told me this week. He's in Canberra today lobbying MPs and environmental groups. So the claimants are saying, we didn't just lose our economic income, we've lost our culture and our religious icon.
Carly, BHP's global headquarters are in Melbourne. What has BHP had to say about this case?
In Brazil, BHP and its local partner Vale, they've set up the Renova Foundation. This is for compensation, loss and damages. They've built more than 450 buildings, churches, community centres, schools, things like that. About $7.7 billion has been spent by BHP for aid and compensation. This includes monthly financial aid, some accommodation and some food. But from what I hear from many Indigenous people in that area, especially along the River Doce, as this is not meeting their needs. It's not what they want. BHP told the ABC in a statement it continues to defend this legal action in the UK, which it says duplicates the efforts already ongoing in Brazil. The claimant's barrister, Tom Goodhead, he doesn't disagree.
It reminds me of Donald Trump denying the results of the 2020 election, frankly. You know, he lost and then he keeps on saying, I won, right? BHP, the Court of Appeal in London in July 2022, they found comprehensively that the existing redress schemes which had been set up in Brazil were inadequate, that there were very good reasons for the claimants to be proceeding with their case.
That's Tom Goodhead. He's the barrister representing more than 650,000 claimants meeting BHP in an English High Court later this month. They're asking for $70 billion for the destruction of their religious icon. $70 billion is a lot to ask for, but it is, they say, the loss of their God.
Carly, thank you.
Thank you.